as you can see, I finally have a Survey Corps shirt. So yay on that. Now I have official Attack on Titan merch. Um, it's summer right now in Nebraska, and it's really freaking hot outside, and I don't want to wear the jacket. So we got the jacket over there, and we got Chewie representing Zeke. Um, yeah. So this is obviously going to be an Attack on Titan video. It's actually going to be the first in a series of videos about some of the different either religions that are in Attack on Titan, i.e., like, this video itself is going to be about the Church of the Walls in Attack on Titan. Another one will be about like the cult of Ymir. That's the cult that Ymir from the Survey Corps was part of. That she was kind of the kind of not the leader but symbol of that cult. Another one will be about well, I kind of put it as a religion. The way that the certain very high-ranking military specific high-ranking military seem to worship the true King of the Walls, or the holder of the founding Titan of royal blood, of the Reese blood, as kind of a god. And then I'm also going to do, in this one, I'm just also going to put, in this video series, I'm also going to do one about like the Eldian Restorationists. Also one about the Jaegerists is going to be in the series. What about the subjects of Ymir, as in what all the Eldians that are in like the internment zone, so like what Gabby grew up learning, and what you know Grisha grew up learning from his parents about, that the Eldians deserve to be subjugated because of what, Ymir did and what their ancestors did. There's also going to be one about I think I was going to do one about, what was the other one I was going to do? I had a few different ideas. Yeah, there's the Church of the Walls, Cult of Ymir, the Founding Titan one, the Jaegerists, the Marley Warriors. I'm kind of putting the Marley Warriors in there as a way of doing it to be, it is a little bit like a cult, as in, like, the kids are raised from the time that they're, 5, 6, whatever, all the way up to, when they're, turned into Titans. To, that they have to be loyal to Marley and everything. The subjects of Ymir, as in, what the Eldians that are in the, internment zones are taught. And then the Eldian Restorationists, of course, that is, Grisha and his group. And then I'm also going to do one about the Titan worshippers, or the Titan cult that is in the Before the Fall, for Attack on Titan, for the for that, since I've read Before the Fall. I'm still going to end up doing a series where I kind of talk about Before the Fall, not like every single chapter, but I might go through and like do like the different, the volumes and such like that. I might go through and talk about those. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. I do at least want to talk about it. I just have to figure out how I want to structure that. So this video is going to be the first one. It's going to be about the Church of the Walls, which is kind of the first kind of religious thing that we're introduced to in Attack on Titan. The main member of the Church of the Walls that we interact with is Pastor Nick. We see him first just after Shiganshina, or just before Shiganshina District is attacked. He's, proclaiming about the fact of, we can't defile the walls, we can't send out more expedition parties, we can't do this, we can't do that, we're not supposed to do that. And he just kind of has the appearance of the, in all intents and purposes, the lunatic raving on the corner. Is kind of the way that he seems to be, the way that he appears, and the way that he kind of seems to be looked at by the people. But then, of course, then the Colossus Titan appears and attacks, and then the Armor Titan appears, and and then all the other Titans start coming in, and that's when Shiganshina is destroyed, and when they lose, when they have to all retreat inside from Wall Maria into Wall Rose. Yeah, I think I got that right. And they have to, push all of humanity, well, what they think is all of humanity, into that smaller section. And we see that over the course of the rest of that time frame between when, when Wall Maria falls, up through when Eren is even at his trial, we see Pastor Nick and the Church of the Walls having gained quite a bit more notoriety. He now seems to have a place in regards to being there when Eren is on trial. He's, railing against the fact that they shouldn't, that you know, this thing is blasphemous and everything, you know. And it's not just him. There's other members of the Church of the Walls. There seems to be a lot of lay people that are church members of the Church of the Walls. When the female Titan attacks and is in, you know, is inside, you know, inside the walls, and when they have to fight Annie as the female Titan, we see a large number of the congregates, along with Pastor Nick and several of the other pastors, at the at their church for all intents and purposes, um, you know, church, sanctuary, whatever you want to refer to it as, there, and they're all praying, and they're all, you know, they're all standing in three circles to represent the three walls, and they're all linking arms and such, and they all have these necklaces that show, you know, the symbols of the three walls. Um, you know, Wall Rose, Wall Sheena, and Wall Maria. Of course. And you know, we see them praying there and everything, and then you know their church is kind of attacked during the fight between Aaron and Annie, you know, between the attack Titan and the female Titan. And we see that. We also know that the Church of the Walls rails against anything that is impurities on the wall. So they print this as having humans on the walls, having the rails on the walls, that allow them to, you know, be able to go up and down the walls, having the wall-mounted artillery on the walls to be able to attack the Titans. You can hear the dog barking in the background. I'm sorry. Well, the dog's joined us for the moment. We'll see how long that lasts. Want to lay down? You're okay. You want to talk about a religion with me? You can help. I mean, I can be a religion. I is cute enough. Yes, you are cute enough. Okay, so... Yes, we know, you know, throughout the course of the series, we see that, you know, and now the dog wants to leave. Dog in, dog out. Dog in, dog out. Oh, well, it means whoever watches this video gets to see the dog. Surprise appearance by Rainy. But, you know, we see throughout the course of the first and second and in the third season, we see the way that Pastor Nick, and even any of the other members of the Church of the Walls that are the priests or the pastors of it, seem very, you know, adamant about, no, we can't do anything to the walls, we can't do anything that will defile them, we can't, you know, try to do this or try to do that or try to do this or try to do that. And, you know, and we get a lot of that. One of the other things that I noticed in the original opening of Attack on Titan, we have a moment where we see, it's part of the opening. It's part of the opening. It's on the gate. One of the gates, or what appears to be one of the gates, has like a carving on it that looks like a woman holding a child. And you know, and then that gate's destroyed, and then we cut to like the end of it. Also cuts to, or I think it's either at another point it cuts to that same image, but it looks very tattered and, you know, worn out and everything. And I kind of look at that as, you know, it's this, you know, the walls were designed to protect them. We know that, which I'll go over this when I talk about the founding Titan a little bit more in regards to like that kind of cult that goes on there. That, you know, the walls were built by, you know, Karl Fritz, the 145th king, or the first king of the walls. It's built by him, and it's, you know, we know that there's, you know, wall Titans inside of the walls. And we learn that at the end of the second season, I think it is it the end of the second season, or is it the end of, I don't remember exactly, but it's somewhere in the first season or so. We, you know, after the battle between Aaron and Annie, we see that when they break part of the wall, we see the face of a Titan in the wall. And Pastor Nick, you know, screams at Hanji and says, "No, you have to cover it. You have to cover it. Don't let any sunlight touch it." And they do, and we see them like there's like this giant stitched together thing of like all these blankets and sheets probably that they took from the people around there, and like, you know, they didn't want the people to see it, so they covered it. And, you know, we see, it implies that Pastor Nick knew that that was there, and then of course we have Hanji kind of interrogate him, and at one point she's, you know, holding him over the side of the ledge of the wall, ready to drop him, and he's, you know, he's, go ahead, do it. He's, you know, he's ready to die for his faith. And then we have the moment where You know, we have the moment where, you know, Hanji and Levi take him, and he sees all of the different refugees flooding in because, you know, well, the wall was attacked, and, you know, we've got all these other refugees that are flooding in because of certain reasons, because of, you know, when Zeke's plan of attacking the other village and turning all some of the people inside the walls into Titans and using them to attack. And then we have, you know, all the refugees flooding in because of that, and Pastor Nick sees this. And that kind of makes him change his mind. He starts going, oh, well, and he's like, okay, fine. There are Titans inside the walls. And I don't remember exactly where it's revealed because I don't remember this happening in the anime, and I might have just missed it if I did, or if it was just something mentioned somewhere else. But at one point, someone that ended up either becoming a member of the Church of the Walls or was a member of the Church of the Walls in the past he'd been like a miner or something, I think, and he found that there were Titans in the walls. And that's why they don't want the walls to be defiled, because of course if the Titans are revealed to sunlight, they will wake up. And then they will cause, you know, they can attack and cause problems. And one colossal Titan roaming around is one thing. You know, and we see what happens with the rumbling in the manga. We see what happens with how horrible that was. And, you know, that's, you know, and we'll see that in the anime when the final half of season 4 finally comes out. But it's that moment where it's just like, yeah, I can kind of see why they wanted to keep it hidden. I can agree with that to a degree. But there's also the concept of, you know, I understand not wanting to like dig inside the walls, but having artillery on the walls is just supposed to help protect them from the Titans that are going to attack them, from the Titans that come to the walls. So there's a very big difference there. And, you know, Nick dies for his faith. He tells Hanji and Levi stuff that he probably shouldn't. He also tells them that they need to go find a girl named Krista Lenz, because it has more information about the walls than he does. And they're like, Krista, and like, I think they have Mikasa and Armin with them when this happens. They're like, Krista Lenz? They're like, you know her? Yeah, she's in our class and everything. And, you know, so they, you know, they go and they find Krista. And this, of course, when they're trying to find Krista, and then when it's revealed that, oh, this leads into the part of the story where we find that, oh, you know, Krista is not her real name. She's actually Historia Reese, and, you know, this is, of course, also where we learn that Ymir is a Titan. And then, of course, where it's also revealed that, you know, Reiner is a Titan and that Bertolt is a Titan. And so we have those moments that are all kind of, you know, one impacts the next that cause that to happen. And, you know, they find out more and more about the Titans this way. And, you know, Nick dies for his faith to a degree. He gets, you know, Hanji puts him to stay in the barracks, and then he is attacked by the MPs, but, you know, attacked and tortured by the MPs. And that kind of leads into, you know, the group that are very much involved in protecting the king, protecting the true king of the walls. And I'll go into that in a different video. But what ends up happening is, of course, you know, Hanji, you know, wants to get revenge for Nick, and she kind of does. Because she ends up, you know, torturing the guy that tortured Nick to get information. Because Hanji at least seemed to have some, like, she could respect Nick's devotion to his religion. I think she could. I think she kind of did during that brief time frame. But she also understood that, you know, he wants to help, but it's also a little bit hard to do that sometimes with what he is. But of course we have, he is at Aaron's trial, and I think he just wants to kill Aaron. He just either wants Aaron to be killed or to be locked away, one of the two. But, we have, a lot of that information that happens there. And Nick kind of ends up being a bit of an explanationist. He's there to give explanation to the story and give background and stuff. Like, well, we found that there are titans in the walls, and all that stuff that happens. And what ends up happening, of course, is Nick does die. I don't think we ever get an exact explanation as to what exactly happens to the rest of the Church of the Walls. I am going to assume that Aaron, or not Aaron, but that because we see other members of the Church of the Walls. We see another very high-ranking member at, I believe it is at Commander Ervin's trial. There's another very high-ranking member there that he definitely seems to know that there is something to do with the founding Titan in the Reese family, or at the very least that the Reese family are the ones that are actually in control, as opposed to the fake King Fritz. And he seems to be very much in league with the other nobles that are at the trial, because they want to lock Ervin up. No, they want to kill Ervin. Excuse me. They want to execute Ervin along with anybody else that's been helping him. There's a lot of other members citizens that just kind of they refer to the people that are the members of the Church of the Walls, particularly like the pastors or the priests, as Wallists. Is just one of the other variations that they use to refer to them as. And they kind of think that people are crazy, which I kind of don't blame them. I would be a little bit like, no, we need the artillery cannons up there so we can attack the Titans if they show up, and we can fire these, cannons at them and make them go away, either scare them off or, kill them if we hit them at the right spot. And then, of course, we have, they don't want the rails on it because you can't travel across, because, we can't have the rails there, so you can't travel across it, which, by the way, wouldn't it just be easier to try to figure out where the hole in the walls are? When they think that there's more Titans that broke through the walls of Wall Rose, and they're trying to figure out where all these Titans are coming from. They're actually coming from inside the walls because of Zeke and the Marleyans that showed up and turned Connie's village into Titans. But it's like they at least seem to have some variation of being able to move the cannons around on the walls. But they probably only have that in a small area. Admittedly, it is pointed out that they don't have anything to do with trains or anything like that, because throughout the course of the first half of season 4, we see them, that they're building the train tracks to be able to move stuff to and from the coasts a lot easier and make trade throughout the cities a lot easier and everything. So I can kind of understand why they wouldn't have a track all the way around the walls, which by technicality, if you had tracks on top of the walls, so that way you don't have to run your horses all the way around the walls every time you're trying to figure out where the break in the walls is, which admittedly probably hasn't happened too often over the past 107 years or so since they were trapped in the walls. But if they had tracks up there so they could ride around the walls and actually be able to find where the break in the walls was, as opposed to just being well, we got to run our horses ragged figuring out where the break in the wall is and everything. But there is a difference there. They didn't have the ability to be able to do that, so they get a little bit of a pass on that, but still. Yeah, I'm assuming that the Church of the Walls kind of eventually just kind of dissolves, or is they just kind of leave. Some of them may end up actually going into being part of the Jaegerist community, which actually wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, because I think at one point they do reveal to everyone that no, there are Titans in the walls. I think that's one of the things that they reveal to everybody near the end of season 3. When when they explain, no, we're not the only people in the world. There's other people out there, and we're actually a race of people that are called the Eldians, and we can turn into Titans, and the other races want to kill us, and that, the Colossal Titan and the Armor Titan and the Female Titan were all actually people that were sent here to kill us. and kill us and find a way in here to get other things from us, and like all this other stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if some of the people that were part of the Church of the Walls ended up going and becoming some of the Jaegerists, which will get its own video. So, but the thing I kind of started making a point about, and then I stopped making a point about, is the carvings that are on the gates. Of course, we know that all the carvings on the gates all represent, Maria, Rose, and Sheena, who are, of course, Emir Fritz's 3 daughters. At this point in time in the series, we don't know that that's what they represent. We just think that they're maybe named after, 3 other people, or those are just the names that they came up with and everything for the walls when they were built. We learn later on with Emir's flashback that Emir Fritz's flashback that we know this is what happened. These were named after her daughters, and her horrible husband did that horrible thing to them, and then passed it down again and again and again and again. But we have the moment where they all 3 walls, and what ends up happening is they have these carvings on them. And we see on these are the wings of freedom, but all the different for the scouts, but like all the different things have like the different symbols on them. They have like I think it's the unicorn that is the MPs. I'm probably getting this wrong. And then there's like the ones that have the roses on them and everything. But like the different they represent different areas for where they reside within the walls, of course, as well. And all the gates in and out of the different walled areas out of the main cities where they go in and out of have this big elaborate carving on them. And at the beginning of the first opening, we see that carving, that wall, get destroyed and then kind of covered in blood and everything to represent that, oh yeah, these are the things kind of keeping you safe. Yeah, you're not so safe anymore. So kind of that representation there, and all the members of the Church of the Walls have the different necklaces or whatever that they wear that have the different symbols on them that represent the 3 walls to show their devotion to it. And it is kind of an interesting foreshadowing that when we see them worshiping, that they're all linked arm in arm in 3 circles to represent the 3 walls. And then later on, when Willie Tybur is giving his, performance art, which admittedly, as I said, he did a good job with it. The image that we see highlighted in the background when he's talking about the Wall Titans is them, linked arm in arm. Forming this, this barrier around the Eldians, and to prevent the other Titans from being able to get in. But we also learn that they're also literally basically, cattle cages, basically, that are there to keep humanity inside the walls. So that way, kind of also, so the Morleyans, we learn later, can come and destroy them because of the, 145th, Karl Fritz's, vow of pacifism, which we'll get gone over when I talk about the founding Titan. So, I thank you very much for watching. That's what I got for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye. I've had enough of this blasphemy, you vile insect. Wall Rose was granted to us by the Lord, and it is not in human right to maim it.